Thursday, November 27th, the Lord of Karma, Saturn, stations direct, and thus begins its final month in Pisces. With the finish line so close in sight, you are completing chapters started in March 2023 and receiving powerful rewards, recognition, and opportunities to level up. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I am a traditional Hellenistic astrologer specializing in teaching, doing readings, creating products that capture the energy of the powerful transits. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy the warmth that we offer here. If you've been here a while and you enjoy my work, please show your support by leaving me a like, a comment, subscribing, pressing the notification bell, hyping my video, or saying thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant. Additionally, you can work with me face-to-face by booking a reading or joining my predictive astrology course. There's a variety of readings, something that works for anyone at any point in your astrological journey. If you're brand new to astrology, natal chart is the way to start. If you've done a natal chart reading, get a predictive reading to look at 2026. It's right around the corner to see what it has in store for you. And if you've been watching these videos and you know a decent amount about astrology, then I definitely recommend joining my course so that you can become your own astrologer and be able to read the cycles and know what's coming up for you. All of that is on my website, so in order to work with me, check that out. On there, you can also pick up my 2026 astrological planner. It contains 227 pages filled with insights about astrology, helping you learn, helping you plan your months ahead with detailed breakdowns. There are also breakdowns of each lunation with rituals, suggestions, positive dates for relationships, challenging dates, and lucky dates. It is full of knowledge and wisdom. And since today we're talking about Saturn stationing direct and starting to go back towards Aries, I would highly recommend my Saturn in Aquarius candle. This one was created in early 2023 before Saturn went into Pisces, and it captures empowered Saturn. We're about to have Saturn in the sign of its fall for the next 2 years, so it's going to be a little bit rough to be structured, be organized. We may either tend to avoid any responsibility and sort of shy away from reaching our goals or go too hard and get burned out, because that's very much Aries perspective. So do check out my Saturn in Aquarius candle. I still have a couple left, and that is empowered Saturn, co-present with Venus, can help you not only reach your goals, reach mastery, express your authority, but also do so in style and with charm, because Venus tends to help Saturn, right? So, okay, all of the announcements out of the way. I appreciate you listening. Today we're talking about Saturn stationing direct, and it is monumental because Saturn went into Pisces for the first time in March 2023. For almost 3 years, we've had Saturn in Pisces in a specific sector of our chart. I'm a Libra rising. For me, it has been in my 6th house, multiplying, triplifying, quadruplifying the amount of work that I've had, just making me busy, busy, busy. There's been a lot of grind. I'm super excited about the projects like teaching and creating planners and making candles and all of that stuff, and being able to connect with you guys, but it's been a lot. So wherever Saturn has been in your chart, and we'll talk about that, this is where Saturn is beginning its exit. So it stations direct on November 27th, and it's going to leave Pisces on February 13th. So we don't even have 3 months. It's 2.5 months left of Saturn direct in Pisces. And when Saturn is completing its journey through a sign, it is very likely to give us rewards and to say thank you for the hard work that we've been putting in, which I assume most of us have been. I have been as a true Virgo. Everything is hard work all the time. But anyways, so Saturn has been retrograde since July 13th, and it's stationed retrograde at 2 degrees Aries and went back to 25 degrees Pisces, which means between November 27th and until it exits Pisces on February 13th, we will have Saturn retracing its steps and making aspects to people who have planets, angles, important points between 25 and 29 degrees mutable signs. And those are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius. You guys are in for one last contact with Saturn. If you've noticed that since July, September specifically, let's talk about Saturn back in Pisces. So it went back into Pisces on September 1st. If you've noticed life intensifying and things feeling heavier, that might be the reason why. But again, as Saturn makes this final approach and makes conjunction, square opposition to your planets, it may be about rewards. There is a way to sort of look at your sun sign and see whether you're going to have another aspect from Saturn. And this will be people born between March 15th and 20th, June 15th and 20th, September 17th and 22nd, and then December 16th and 21st. You may feel Saturn's joy or wrath, depending on how you put it. So what happens when Saturn goes direct? Whenever the planet stations, it's like holding a press conference. It's delivering a message. So right around November 27th, the message of Saturn and its lesson in your specific house in your chart may become more apparent. Saturn has been, like I said, retrograde for about 4.5 months, since July 13th. And as it turns direct, we're beginning to integrate the lessons of Saturn. We are taking responsibility for our work. We are saying no to things that do not serve us, and we are committing to spiritual goals potentially. This is what Saturn in Pisces is about, right? Pisces is a Jupiterian sign. It is about creating unity with, like, finding a way to unite with the world. So for some of you, there may be like completion of important projects. For others, there may be a sense that you have to prioritize self-care and take things slowly and actually maybe reject something in your life that feels exhausting and draining and doesn't really give you much. So Pisces is very strong on spirituality and like emotional wellness and sleep and rest, right? So you will become more aware of all the ways in which your work patterns maybe do not help or serve you. And a lot will, of course, depend on which house is activated in your chart. And I am about to run through the 12 zodiac signs to tell you what kind of rewards, recognition, and opportunities to level up you might get. I recommend listening to your rising sign. That tends to be the most accurate. If you are looking for more personal, precise reading, if you're curious what 2026 has planned for you, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com. Even better, come study with me. My predictive astrology course begins in March 2026, and it will teach you how to read cycles, understand chapters in your life, and forecast your future for yourself and for people you love. So we're going to start with Aries rising. Saturn is stationing direct in your 12th house and begins to move out of your 12th house. So you're completing, these next 2.5 months are all about completing chapters started in March 2023. And please share down below, how has your life changed since March 2023? Saturn in the 12th house is all about closing chapters. It's all about closing unhealthy, toxic cycles. So maybe you've lost your job, or you quit your job and you realize that you don't really want to do what you've been doing. Maybe you've given up on drinking and stopped smoking weed or something. Maybe you've realized that some of your self-defeating tendencies are not good for you. Maybe you've let go of a tendency to look at your ex's page all the time. So some kind of closure could have occurred for you, right? And so as Saturn spends these final 2 months in Pisces, you may begin to feel a sense of resilience and a sense of strength and a sense of, I've been through it all and I've overcome it and I'm coming on the other side, right? And if you've been struggling with like work or self-understanding, or just felt like you're sort of being thrown around like a leaf in the wind, Saturn going direct can actually bring a little bit more groundedness and self-awareness. So it could be really powerful. I am very curious to hear, beautiful Aries rising, how has Saturn in Pisces affected you? Highly recommend my Saturn in Aquarius candle. I still have a couple left. And for more, to book a personal reading or join my predictive astrology course, visit anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are the lovely Taurus rising, Saturn is stationing direct in your 11th house. And the next 2.5 months will be all about completing chapters started in March 2023. So how have your friendships, how has your social life, how has your relationship with the collective changed since then? Do let us know. I think other Taurus risings and me as an astrologer, I would really appreciate hearing it. Nothing beats personal experience. But here you're looking at a few things, right? If you've been, let's say there was a friendship that's been kind of barely hanging on, Saturn going direct could be the time you either let go of that friendship or you figure out a solution, you figure out how to move forward. If you've been feeling with Saturn here a strong sense of responsibility for others, for the collective, if you've been thinking of like starting a yoga business, opening your own studio, doing something to improve the world at large, this might be the time. Like, let's say you've been trying, but you've been feeling a little bit stuck with Saturn being retrograde. This could be the time your pursuits, your desires, it could even be like a creative impulse, right? With Saturn and Pisces in the 11th. Maybe you've been thinking that you should take up writing again and become a journalist and write stories that touch people's hearts, right? There is a lot of like, there's a change of momentum here and opportunities to gain like rewards and recognition and level up in this sector of your life, right? If you've started a YouTube channel, maybe you've been pushing, and things have felt like a grind, this can also be the time when you're reaching a better territory in the desert of the YouTube. Maybe you're getting to the oasis and getting to smell the flowers and things are starting to feel better. So yeah, like there could be new connections, new opportunities, new ways of giving back, new partnerships, maybe things you've been really trying to get moving, but they weren't, and now they do as Saturn goes direct. For more, visit my website, pick up the lovely Saturn in Aquarius candle, and join my predictive course or book a reading to level up your knowledge. If you are a Gemini rising, Saturn is stationing direct in your 10th house. How has your professional life changed since March 2023 when Saturn first went into Pisces? I really want to know. Maybe you felt stuck. Maybe you've had a desire to get somewhere, but it's been full of restrictions and hard work, and maybe you've had to struggle with certain things, right? And so now that Saturn goes direct, it should alleviate some of that. It should, first and foremost, bring clarity about what you want to be doing and what gives you spiritual satisfaction. What do you want to leave behind is the question here, right? And for some of you, maybe it's a work of a healer, and maybe for others, it's an early retirement. Maybe you don't want to have a crazy career. Maybe you just want to retire and like go travel the world, right? So it's going to bring like clarity about what you want to accomplish, and it might also connect you with your spiritual core and your spiritual self and offer forward momentum in career, because it's the end of a 2.5 year long period, right? There is a sense of like, okay, I finally now know where I want to go and which direction I want to take. So it could be quite rewarding and yeah, bring a lot of opportunities to level up your career, level up your professional game. I'm so curious to hear your reflections on this transit. For more personal advice and to study astrology, join my predictive course, book a reading. All of that is on my website. So check it out. If you are a Cancer rising, Saturn stations direct in your 9th house. So since March 2023, Saturn has been in your 9th house, on and off, mostly on. So it could have brought a lot of responsibility when it comes to education. Maybe you've taken on a dissertation and you've been writing it for 2 years. Maybe you've started studying and you've been in some kind of long-term program. Maybe you've been trying to study or you've been trying to move and have been dealing with a lot of Saturnian restrictions and kind of, Saturn maybe was like kept on like pressure testing your motivation and how serious you are about certain things. You may have dealt with some legal issues, some problems with visas or lawyers. Saturn, generally stationing direct for the very last time, is a powerful energetic shift, and it is likely to bring rewards and opportunities to level up. Everything you've been working on for the last 2.5 years is either becoming clear and you're actually being like, okay, this is what I want to do. And now that you've experienced rejection and you've dealt with maybe some critics of your dissertation or some educational issues, right? Now that you actually dealt with it, you know how to move forward. So committing to things, letting things go, seeing forward momentum and development that involves a move within your country, a move to a different country, graduation, finishing the dissertation. And think of the ninth house as like anywhere you're trying to expand. It's the house of larger world. It's the house of long journeys. So the journeys can be really, really different. Maybe for some of you, it's a journey to move to a different country, but for somebody else, it could be like a spiritual journey to find your community and to expand your circle, maybe, right? And so that's why it's really interesting to hear your thoughts and reflections on this. So please share. And for more, visit my website to book a reading or join my predictive astrology course to study and know how to be your personal astrologer, how to forecast your future. If you are a Leo rising, Saturn is turning direct in your 8th house, and it first went into your 8th house in March 2023, intensifying your debts, intensifying your entanglements with other people, revealing which commitments are too heavy and burdensome. And it could have been that the last 2.5 years you've been really sort of trying to figure out what to do and how to let go of certain things. Anything from like a financial debt to an obligation to a sister that you're helping, but your life is somewhat, your paths are somehow separating. So Saturn going direct is bound to bring answers and to bring forward momentum and to bring more clarity. And two ways are quite likely here, right? One is you finally figure out how to pay off that debt, how to get out of that loan situation, how to get out of this difficult sort of arrangement that you've been in. Or the second situation, you actually double down on it and you commit to it. Because Saturn going direct in the 8th house could clarify for you which partnerships, which relationships, which even debts are worth taking on. And so there might be this sense of like clarity, right? That, oh, I actually want to take this loan, or actually I want to refinance this mortgage, or I want to buy this house, right? So do share how this resonates. How have the last 3 years treated you? And for more, visit my website to book a reading or join my predictive astrology course. Begins in March 2023, 2026. Where are we? Who am I? If you are a Virgo rising, Saturn is stationing direct in your 7th house. So for the last 3 years, since March 2023, Saturn has been testing your relationships. And for some, it brought endings. I definitely have some clients who, like right at the front door of this transit, they ended a major long-term relationship. For others, it brought a significant other and commitment or a child into your life. One thing is for sure, there has been a strong increase of pressures when it comes to relationships. And maybe some struggles, right? Maybe some questioning of like, do I want to carry this burden? Is this person worth going through struggle with them, or are they not? And as Saturn stations direct in the next 2.5 months, it's going to bring a lot of answers your way, right? If you have been pushing the rock up the hill by yourself in a relationship, it might fall down and slap you in the face, and you may realize that, hey, this relationship is actually not worth pursuing. I am doing all the work, right? And they don't hear me. And So gaining clarity and maybe saying no to toxic relationships simultaneously, as this can also be about commitment to something and some kind of movement, forward momentum. You overcome difficulty in your relationship, you get married, or you've been trying to get a mortgage, you get that mortgage, or you've been like moving on to some kind of next level. I think, my keyword for this is leveling up. So it's the final 2.5 months, and it's going to be quite telling and quite revealing and full of rewards and important answers. So if you've been heeding the lesson of Saturn, he's going to reward you. And if you've been ignoring him, he might bring some challenges. So do share how this resonates. How has this transit been for you? And enjoy. My lovely Libra rising, Saturn is going direct in your 6th house. So since March 2023, pretty much Saturn has been in your 6th house, intensifying your workload, pressure testing your health, encouraging maybe a little bit more reflection in your work house, and making you realize that it's not about just to-do lists and accomplishment and productivity. I'm still learning that lesson. I don't think I'm quite there yet. So the final 2.5 months of Saturn in Pisces are all about that. It's like, what have you learned, right? Have you learned to have a good balance between work and rest? You get an A, you get a star. Have you not? Maybe there's more adjustments you need to make. So Saturn in the 6th could be a chance to finish a long-term project and experience a sense of satisfaction and maybe get some rewards from the work you've been putting in. Let's say you've started a business and you've been really committed and growing it and reaching out to people and trying to do collaboration. Well, you might get rewarded for that. If you've been exhausted and drained and tired because you've been working at a job you don't like, or you've been working for someone else while you really want to have your own business, well, that would be an adjustment. If you've been realizing that you want to become a spiritual healer, then maybe it's about taking steps to make that dream come true. Changes around your pets, around your health, transforming your habits is also quite possible here. 6th house is all about like blood, sweat, and tears, and what is worth dedicating to and committing to and, investing into. So this is quite important. And I can see you overcoming a health issue. I can see you transforming your work life, maybe solving some kind of problem in your life as well. Do share. How has the last 3 years, how has Saturn treated you the last 3 years? For more, visit my website to join my predictive astrology course or book your reading. If you are a Scorpio rising, Saturn is turning direct in your 5th house, your house of creative energy, play, joy, creativity, sex, pleasure, children. Saturn being here since March 2023 could have blocked a lot of pleasure and joy. It could have suggested that you had to work on a project. Maybe you were putting out a show, right? An art show, and Saturn being here was just like, I have so many demands on my time, this has not been fun anymore. Or you felt like you had to schedule every night out and sort of try to get some rest. And maybe you had a baby and there was a lot of time dedicated to taking care of the child, right? So for one reason or another, there could have been a sense of just pushing and fighting for things. And so as Saturn begins its final 2.5 months in Pisces, you're likely to establish some kind of balance here, right? There may be a sense of having to say no to some of your commitments. And let's say you realize that you really want to spend more time with your child, and so maybe you're restructuring your work schedule. There may be sort of a renewed sense of commitment in a relationship, maybe some type of especially if things have been a little bit stuck and difficult. Let's say your partner has been traveling a lot, or they had difficult time at work, and your love life has sort of dwindled and things have been difficult. So Saturn going direct could be okay, let's make a plan. Let's prioritize us. We can't give up on sparks and love in this relationship. And 5th house is also the house of happiness and pleasure and joy. And so Saturn going direct here will definitely help you figure out what is that pleasure for you, where are things missing, and how can you potentially bring more fun into your life. If If you're seeking more, book a reading on my website or join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Saturn is turning direct in your 4th house. And for the next 2.5 months, it's going to complete chapter started in March 2023 when it first entered your 4th house. So with Saturn in the 4th, you could have felt an increase in family responsibility. Saturn in the 4th could have made you realize that a family member really needs you and you maybe spend more time taking care of them. There could have been an increase in responsibility when it comes to your property as well. I have a Sagittarius rising friend and she ended up taking on a mortgage at the start of this transit. So there could have been some kind of sense of like heaviness. Simultaneously as well, we're talking about house of home, comfort and security. So maybe Saturn made you question what comfort and security is. It could have encouraged you to find strong reserves of self-reliance in some shape or form, and maybe made questions around home, family, childhood, parental karma a little bit heavier. So as Saturn begins its direct motion out of Pisces, you are finishing a lot of these chapters, and on many levels you're getting ready to level up. You are learning a lot of lessons, you're transforming things, and so some rewards here might include moving, ending a difficult situation. Let's say you're getting divorced and maybe you're getting out of a difficult cohabiting while being divorced type of situation, or while getting divorced situation. A family situation you've been involved in, if there was some kind of difficult situation with the family, may get resolved. Maybe your family member overcomes the health issue they've been dealing with. And the same with real estate, right? Like you may be paying off a mortgage or moving on to like a different, less difficult situation with your living place. Do share how this resonates. How has this sector of your life changed in the last 2.5 years since March 2023? And for more, visit my website to book a reading or join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026. If you are a Capricorn rising, Saturn is turning direct in your 3rd house. I was going to say second. 3rd house of skills, hobbies, writing, communication. And Saturn here in the last 3 years almost, since March 2023, could have brought a sense of like wanting to express yourself freely, but being stuck. There could have been a sense of like you had to learn a lot. You had to write something that took a long time and a lot of research. You maybe felt like you were like diving really deeply into a topic, or you had to deal with a lot of self-doubt when it comes to your writing abilities, when it comes to you being self-employed and starting your own business. So if you felt like you've had to deal with a lot of questioning of yourself and your knowledge and your writing and other skills, Saturn going direct can bring a lot of forward momentum and clarity. It can actually bring rewards. Let's say you've been writing a novel for the last 3 years. Saturn going direct could be finally you find somebody who buys it, or you leave a difficult job that's been stressful and tense and you open your own business. You leave writing for pay and you become you become a screenwriter, director type of person. So there's a lot of positive developments. There might also be a change when it comes to a sibling. Maybe, your relationship with a sibling went through some kind of transformation, or it's even siblings' inheritance. I have a friend who's a Capricorn rising. She's been dealing with some difficult situation involving siblings' property for a while. So sometimes Saturn going direct can bring clarity and forward momentum in that sector. Do share how has life changed since Saturn entered Pisces, and it's your chart ruler, so it could be extra important for you. For more, visit my website to book a reading. Sorry, I didn't realize my candle went out. I wanted to check on it. Visit my website to book a reading or join my predictive astrology course. If you are an Aquarius rising, Saturn, your chart ruler, is stationing direct in your 2nd house, the house of money and values. And so Saturn first went here in March 2023, and it could have put some pressures on your resources, right? Sometimes it's because you lost the job, other times because it was really hard to gain the salary that you wanted, other times it's because you had to be the one advocating for yourself and maybe it was difficult to kind of, transform your resources. I know people who like dealt with waiting for some kind of payment for a long time, like an insurance payment. Ultimately, Saturn went into your second to teach you resilience and to teach you self-reliance and to teach you not to rely on other people to be your only source of self-worth and satisfaction. A lot of times when Saturn is in the second house, we go through a period of like, you can't rely on other people as much, or they're not giving you what you want. And the knee-jerk reaction might be like, well, they're not appreciating me, and this is because of them. But in reality, other people's appreciation comes and goes, right? But your sense of self-worth is something that is supposed to stay with you and pretty much stay the same, and you need to feed it and you need to love yourself. So Saturn going direct here could bring you, of course, positive developments financially. There could be a new job, a financial reward. Maybe you're finishing paying off a debt or something, but it can also be an increased sense of confidence and self-appreciation. I'd be very curious to hear how this affected you, your chart ruler in Pisces. For more, visit my website to book a reading or join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026, very soon. If you are the lovely Pisces rising, Saturn is turning direct in your first house. Only 2.5 months left of Saturn in your first house. It first entered here in March 2023. How has it affected you? Maybe it affected your health. Maybe you've been dealing with some kind of health issues on and off. Maybe it affected your life and made you really busy, just like taking care of a lot of things, constantly being pulled in different directions, feeling overwhelmed, feeling burdened by life, right? Like Saturn in the first can just be like, there's so much to do. There's no time to have fun. Maybe your mental health was under review. Maybe you've been realizing that you're in the wrong field, that you're not getting enough spiritual satisfaction, right? So whatever you've been questioning, and please share in the comments. I'm curious how you're celebrating the departure, the near, close, upcoming departure of Saturn from your first house. But it could be the time you're kind of gaining a handle on your health and committing to therapy, maybe experiencing breakthroughs in therapy. Maybe you're getting a handle on your schedule. Perhaps Saturn in the first can also be about saying no and saying goodbye to things, right? Like letting go of a toxic job and committing to a spiritual passion, for example. Maybe you've started tarot YouTube channel during this transit and it's been kind of slow going, but as Saturn about to leave your first house, there may be some kind of reward and opportunity to level up. So it's like all about like, how can you learn, how can you apply the lessons of the last 2.5 years, right, to build a better you, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So in all the ways, please share. And if you're seeking more, book a reading on my website for a face-to-face consultation or join my predictive astrology course. It begins in March 2026 and it will teach you how to forecast your future with the use of astrology. So this is it. It's a pretty good transit, I think. We've had a lot of introspection in November with Mercury retrograde, with Jupiter stationing retrograde. So with this transit, we're actually starting to come out of it all. So enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.